And general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Wednesday, hump day, hemp day, all that fun stuff. April 16th. And today is National Pathway Day, you guys. Okay, nothing to say. All right.
Pathway to, where are we going?
Pathway to what?
Well, you know,
the highway to hell or what?
Oh, you know what's funny is I saw someone posted a thing. They said, you know what? It's funny that there's a highway to hell and a stairway to heaven. So it just shows you the amount of flow that people are, you know what I'm saying, living in the fast lane. It's also National Banana Day today, you guys.
I could get with that.
Not banana hammock, Sohum, banana day.
Wow.
I know you just wanted a reason to think of me in a banana hammock.
Oh God, no, that is definitely not the visual I need today.
Well,
You brought it up.
Yeah, no,
it's more than the ATX, you know.
It's also
almost 90 degrees the other day. It was crazy.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? It's also National Bean Counter Day today, you guys. Shout out to all those people counting beans out there, all those seed companies out there.
Shout out to the accountants for getting it done yesterday on tax day.
Yes. Yeah. It's also National Orchid Day today, you guys.
I like that one.
Okay.
National Healthcare Decisions Day.
Oh yeah. So glad Yarrow's not here because he'd be riff ranting and rambling.
Oh, bro, you already know.
If only we had.
Do we have them? Do we have healthcare decisions?
Yes, 100%. We have healthcare decisions. You're goddamn right, we do.
I don't know if anybody really has a choice in any of those matters.
You get to choose. We get to choose between overpriced options on the healthcare.gov exchange.
Yeah, but, you know.
I feel bad for y'all. I have TRICARE for life, so I didn't know about all of this craziness until. Well, I knew about it just because apparently it's a crisis.
It's not. It's there's no crisis. I'll put it to you like this: I haven't had healthcare for forever, and I don't even care. How about that? Because I don't believe in getting sick.
Terminal illness.
Yeah, and I have I have a debilitating disease. So you know what? Poo all that bullshit.
I don't know, Jason. Remember that one time you had that slippy folly and we had to go get you stitched up?
Wait, but Jason, that's the thing.
The thing is, if you don't have health insurance and you go to the ER, guess who's paying for it?
Guess what? Guess who doesn't go to the ER? Sohum.
Jason, Jason took you to urgent care to get your finger stitched up. Remember by the hot doctor?
Yeah, she was a hot doctor. Yeah, she was smoking.
But the thing is, Jason paying with no insurance is almost always cheaper than when you get your rate with insurance, and that's the tragedy.
I don't know.
That's where they get you.
Never. You know, we're gonna keep on going on because it's also National Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day. You guys, any of you guys in your pajamas today?
Not to shit. I should have done this from bed today.
No, I have clothes on, so no.
Yeah. And I've been eating a lot of eggs lately, and today is National Eggs Benedict Day.
Okay.
Ooh, the price of that holiday went up.
Eggs are actually down, Jenny Beth. That's cute. That's cute.
Oh, I know. I know.
Eggs are down in my pan because I've been eating like 8 of them a day. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just because.
Oh, you're farting.
No, stop it. I don't fart.
Yes, you do.
You might need to go to a doctor, man.
What do I need to go to the doctor for?
Into that. Because you ain't farting, buddy.
No.
That ain't normal.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from every one of those platforms. And Rico could not be with us today. He couldn't make it back to his hotel room fast enough. So Dale, we are going to, I think we're going to start this off with you today, Dale. Are you good with that?
Oh, good. I'm a shit stirrer. Let's go.
All right, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, and he's honest, and he's unconcerned with your opinions, public opinions, and everyone's opinion, and will show you how to defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, it is none other your favorite Tio Loco. You can now find him at his own law office at the law office of Dale Schafer, Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. Let's get the show started off with me calling out my own party. I'm a Democrat, have been for 5 decades, and I read this story out of MJ Biz Daily yesterday, and it was nauseating. Headline is California touts seizure of $316 million in unlicensed cannabis in first quarter. This came from the staff yesterday. As I read this, I'm thinking, I did fairly well in math. So if I multiply this times 4, we're over $1 billion that they're projected to confiscate this year of unlicensed. Okay. And one of the comments in this story is that, that they tend to exaggerate. Well, no shit, Sherlock. They don't tell you how much they actually seize. And so are they putting this at what, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 a pound? I mean, where are they coming with these numbers, which I just think is nonsense. Okay. This is one of my pet peeves about what the cops do. They want to blow their own horn about grabbing a bunch of product and then inflate the price and make them look better. And I just think it makes them look stupid. The other thing in here that it caught my attention, and let me see if I can give you the quote here, is that according to Newsom, we have an expanding cannabis industry out here. And I thought, you lying sack of shit. And I'm saying this as a Democrat. This guy is trying to say we have an expanding licensed cannabis industry here in California. We started out with over almost 20,000 businesses. We're down to 8,500 now. I don't know in what world you spin loss of over half of your licenses in the state and then publicly state we have an expanding market out here. It's nonsense. Right now, the battle is stopping the excise tax from going from 15% to 19%. And every local jurisdiction gets to add on their excise taxes or use taxes. And then they can put on special sales taxes. There's just so much nonsense going on out here. If no one's told you, Gavin Newsom's running for president next time. Okay? He may try to deny this. He's a pretty boy like John Kennedy was. But when he says nonsense like this, I'm sorry. I got to call the bullshit out. Cannabis licensed industry in California is dying on the vine. The only industry with cannabis in California that's expanding is the black market. And this is the problem we face. I'm in the middle of writing for the Democratic Convention proposed amendments to what we call our medical and adult use statutes out here. The biggest problem is local control. Now, we've got my office and my daughter's business, we have a project right now in Minnesota, and they don't allow local control. You can do some zoning work, but you can't prohibit this stuff. There's a lot of things I like in that statute. So I'm rewriting part of what was Prop 64 and Malcursa right now to remove local control to prohibit. They can certainly have zoning, things like that. But you can't stop it. And I want to take away the tax authority of the locals, nonsense like that. California, the tax on alcohol is 1% to 3%. 1% for beer and alcohol, 3% for the high price things like my favorite single malt scotch, things like that. Not 15%, and certainly not 19%. It's killing the industry. Okay. So, and I also, what I would propose is that if the Democratic Convention, if they don't adopt this and try to move forward, they're claiming that, Prop 64 promised all these groups that we're going to collect 15% excise tax and give all these groups money. They're killing the cash cow. My analogy here is that, the cash cow looks like it lives in Dachau. This thing is dying. Back in the SB 420 days, there was a lot of, for reference, SB 420 was our collective cooperative model that started in 2004 and ended in 2019. There were so many shenanigans going on with that. People were claiming we're helping the patients, and they were driving around in, exotic cars and wearing gold all over the place, and it's over the people. It was bullshit. They poisoned the legislature for trying to be nice to the cannabis industry. Now it's about to die here in California. We were supposed to be in the forefront of cannabis industry growth, and they're killing it right now. So what caught my attention is the exaggeration of, the value of what they're collecting, and they're not going to get $1.2 billion in confiscated weed out of the black market this year. They're just not going to do it. It's horse shit. You got to call Gavin Newsom out. If you're going to say this is an expanding market, you're only talking about the black market. So nonsense. Stop it. I'm going to throw this back at you for your comment about this.
Dale, in regards with this, they may say that Prop 64 promised us this money and this and this and that and whatever, but that also Prop 64 also promised the cannabis industry the ability to work with the legislators to make any necessary changes in order to have the industry succeed. And so that would be any pushback that I would say in regards with anything that they have to say about tax dollar being allocated or being stripped away from different promised groups or whatever, because in reality, they're all entitlements and they all should be done away with.
Well, I tend to agree. I like some of the groups that get the money, but if you can't get any more cash out of this industry without killing it, these groups have to be put off the sidelines. Okay. Mm-hmm. You just can't do it. The other thing that Prop 64 has is a feasibility clause. If the laws are not feasible from an economic standpoint to continue to enforce, they need to be changed. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're going to pound that drum. The voters said, hey, if this is not economically viable, we want it to change. And right now, 15% is killing the industry. Yeah. If you allow every local jurisdiction to tag on their own use or excise taxes, it's killing the industry. I want to model more like alcohol. Let it be a state general law so locals can't change it. They have the right to do zoning and zoning enforcement and issue a use permit for the building. Okay. But aside from that, get the fuck out of the way.
You know where that's going to get tricky, Dale? You know it's going to get tricky as far as just making it one universal tax overall like that is that a lot of local municipalities have had voter initiatives to tax cannabis at different percentages within their local jurisdictions, and so I think that is going to kind of make it very, very interesting to see how California tries to roll all of that back, because ultimately they have to. They don't have another choice.
To Dale's point about that feasibility clause, for one, I'm curious why I haven't heard more about that, because that seems to be what you should be able to use to really fix up the law and fix up the tax structure and all that. But wouldn't that feasibility clause, and maybe this is a question for Dale as an attorney, wouldn't that supersede any type of local vote or ordinance that would have happened for taxation?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't know if we really have precedent on how to interpret that. But, I'm currently drafting some changes. And what I put in there is that any contrary laws are hereby revoked.
No,
Just get rid of them all.
nullified.
Yeah, they're
get
gone.
rid of them all.
And then get rid of them all. The local bought into well, we're going to tax the shit out of this because of the 420 days. People were rolling in dough. I mean, they were making a lot of money off of weed. But now when you have to tax and regulate it, it takes so much, you just can't be viable anymore. And the numbers prove that. I mean, at what point do the industry have to die before they decide, well, maybe we should make a change? And from my point of view, if the Democrats at the convention won't do this, fuck them. We're going to go out and do an initiative. So I'm going to start banging the drum for that. Let's start gathering money, because I think the Constitution should be changed to make this more like alcohol, okay? And to get rid of all this local nonsense, local taxing authority, local regulatory authority, get the fuck out of the way. And let this be treated like alcohol. Let the state license and the locals can determine where it's going to be. Period. Get out of the way.
I'm so with that, Dale. All the way, all day. Jenny Beth, what do you have to say? You've been pretty quiet so far.
I mean, California taxes, yay. I don't know. I just, as long as it's not going to the general fund at this point, like, you know, I think that's a big deal. We shouldn't be sending money to the same people that cause this industry to have so many social equity applicants. So that's one little nod. And, you know, I just, as I'm going through tax audits, this is a sore subject. So I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut until I get done dealing with LA City Finance.
Well, one of the problems is that the DCC is funded by licensing fees. They are unbelievable. They are just way too high. Cody Bass was on with us the other day when we had a meeting. And, you know, his idea is let's take and fund the DCC out of the general fund, or maybe out of these excise taxes, or both. And then let the fees reflect what it actually costs to oversee the licenses. He thinks it'll be $1,000, $2,000 a year. Right now, they're paying $50,000 to $70,000. I mean, depending on what you've got, it's unbelievable the amount they charge for these. And it's not tied to what it actually costs to license and inspect and oversee. So that's the thing we're going to try to take
not
care
even
of.
close. Look at states like Oklahoma and New Mexico, where your licensing fee is $5,000 or less. I think $3,500 in New Mexico. It's very possible to do it without charging an arm and a leg to get a license.
100%. And if you look at City of LA, we had to do, because finally everybody had to actually file their applications for their annual. So you had to pay your renewal and your annual. So paying your renewal fee for your whatever that you would normally had to pay, then adding on your annual application fee. So if you have, say, a micro business, you did that 3 times for each. So we have distro manufacturing. So I believe the bill was $27,000.
It's crazy.
Now, when they issue that annual as well, I'm expecting there to be an annual licensing fee in addition to that annual application fee of $7,500. So it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, and we passed multiple initiatives here in California over taxes. And the last one, Prop 26, said that anything that you charge that raises money is a tax, and it's got to go to the voters and be voted on. And if it's a fee, it can only be charged for what it costs to oversee what the fee is doing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so they're just violating that. And the idea was, oh, this is just some huge cash cow from the black market. We're going to keep sucking money out of it. Well, you've sucked it dry now. Okay. Something has to be done, because the industry cannot survive the way it's going right now. It's on a trajectory. I call it circling the drain. It's about to go under. So something has to be done here. I blame the legislature. And they're democratically run, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm here screaming, you guys have fucked this up royally. And you got to take money away from these special interest groups. And if you can't, we're going to go to the people. Because I think if you point out to the people that what this is doing is encouraging the black market, they don't like laws that encourage criminal behavior. And that's what we've got here. And the taxes and regulations are just out of control. I think the voters are ready to go, no, nonsense, stop this. Let's cut back to a workable industry, and then we can expand from there.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, this was a great, fantastic conversation on this, and we're going to roll it right into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise. And we are back, you guys. And shout out to the C Word who threw in a super chat who says pay cash for healthcare. So thank you, the C Word. We appreciate that super chat coming in this morning. And shout out to Tested, Aim High Hemp Distribution. They now have tested product available. And so I can't wait for us to get some samples. We are going to be doing a giveaway, and we do want to thank them for all of their support over here. Jenny Beth, what do you have to say, Jenny Beth?
I was about to say, coming up next, we have the High at 9 head honcho, the cash pay captain of healthcare, Jason Beck.
Yes, that's right. All cash, no breaks. I'm all about that life. You know what I mean? All day, every day. Oh, man, you guys. Well, guess what, you guys? Minnesota. The Office of Cannabis Management begins notifying accepted applicants for adult use marijuana licensing. That's right. The Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management, better known as the OCM, announced on Monday, April 14th, that it was beginning to coordinate with adult use marijuana business license applicants about their next steps now that it can move forward with the approval process, they say. Josh Collins, communications director at the OCM, says that the businesses they are notifying right now are from uncapped categories, including small-time retailers, which are better known as micro businesses, wholesalers, testing labs, and transportation businesses. Before they can open their doors, Collins says next steps will require them to pass state inspections related to the business's specific category and the local zoning ordinances in their city or county. He says in the next several weeks and months, the office expects the businesses that will be best equipped to enter the market now that licensing is moving forward will be medical dispensaries that applied for a medical combination license, business license. Yeah, combination business license. Interesting. Interesting choice of words they chose for that. Those businesses already have the supply chain infrastructure to sell cannabis for medical purposes, which he says can give them a major head start when entering the new adult use market. And he says the office has also seen signs that plenty of micro business licensees, licensed retailers across the state are ready to go as well. In a quote, he says, "We know some of our applicants are going to be taking their time. They're still looking at retail locations and working with their local communities to find sites, but there are some that are ready to go," he says. They've already been engaging with those local officials, Collins said. As they navigate through these final requirements, Collins says his office expects the first of these businesses to open their doors by late spring or early summer. And Shelly Buchanan, owner of the Hempire Vape Shop, says her business has applied for a micro business license at its Superior Drive Northwest location. As a business with 6 employees across multiple locations trying to break into the new industry, she says she chose to start with a license for one location to increase her chances of getting licensed in the first wave. In a quote, she says, "We're ready to hit the ground running, and if given the chance, we have great plans for the future, but a license is needed first," Buchanan said. According to Collins, businesses seeking larger licenses will have stiff competition, with 4 of the major licenses being capped. Those applicants may have to wait a little longer to get into the businesses and include retailers with multiple locations, large chains, but are known as meso businesses, cultivators who want to grow the plant, and manufacturers seeking to process them into new products. Businesses in those categories will have to wait until late May or early June for a lottery due to limited licenses, you guys. Well. Sounds like they're going to throw this big old slush fund of licenses all out on the table for all the Minnesotans to be able to grab at and grasp for, and we're going to see what happens with all of this. I'm sure it's going to be some kind of a shit show, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Hell, shit show, Jason Beck.
It's going to be a shit show because it's all uncapped licenses, and they didn't stop the cap.
No cap.
Mm-hmm.
No cap. I mean, like, I don't know if they've noticed what's happened in, say, California, where we did, cap licenses, but still allowed stacking and allowed some other licensing practices that weren't necessarily great for the industry or protected against, large operators coming in and taking out everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, bud, here we go, Minnesota.
I think
I find the Minnesota rules.
Hold on one second, Sean. Go ahead, Dale.
I find the Minnesota rules to be rather straightforward. I mean, Heather and I have a project in Brainerd right now, and we're going to be doing presentations to cultivators there to try to work on getting cultivation up. But their rules seem to be pretty straightforward. Okay,
Yeah,
as opposed to like California, which are just almost impossible to get through and make functional, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that they don't screw up like California did, and we're trying to get the message to these local people. Is look at what we did here in California and do not repeat it. Do not.
Yes, whatever you do not repeat.
I think that I was a part of I don't know, like 5 or 7 applications in Minnesota, and I agree with Dale. I think it was pretty straightforward. It does not, like, at least from the initial sense that I got, it does not look like it's going to end up being as big of a shit show as California.
Mm-hmm.
It was more reminiscent of of a New Mexico or an Oklahoma style licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's my point about it being a shit show. I don't think it's going to be a shit show in the actual process. I think it's going to be a shit show in, like, you get a license, you get a license, you get a license. It's going to be the Oprah Winfrey Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly.
But that actually goes counter to what you said earlier, Jenny Beth, about having big operators come in, right? Because you don't see MSOs trying to fuck around in Oklahoma or New Mexico, because it's such an open licensing process that it's impossible for them to gain the type of monopoly that they would in an Illinois or a Maryland or a,
well, they can't raise that money.
It's not necessarily about the size of the operator. Saturation is saturation.
Yeah, but isn't that like any industry? Like I have this conundrum myself, because part of why I think, I hate bringing back to Texas, and I'm from Minnesota, so I grew up split between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Minnesota do good things. My question is, when we go back to the basic principles of limited licensing or not limited in any like open market, if cupcakes become a very popular commodity, anybody can make cupcakes and you can sell cupcakes. And if you have a massive like overflow of cupcake operators, at some point that comes down. And that's almost not to discredit like Dale's story earlier about the California market coming out with 20,000, then scaling all the way back down now at 8. Attrition's gonna happen. I think Minnesota's done a pretty good job structuring some things, though. Like, I heard that they had issues when they were talking about, because the craft brew industry has basically been rescued by the cannabis market, from what I've heard. And that's great for craft brewers. And this is where we think about like licensing with craft grows and boutique operators, mom and pops under, a certain figure or number of employees. But when we limit licenses, like in Texas, we have this open hemp market, open license. It's only like $300 to get a license,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody can do it. We only have about 2,500 who have, and then once they clear it, I think you'll see that number double. But part of me, I'm rambling, but limited licensing, it goes against open markets.
It doesn't work anywhere. You see that limited licenses prop up large MSOs, and prop up prices for consumers. It's not a good thing. And I stand by the argument that Oklahoma and New Mexico have done more for social equity than any actual social equity program. By reducing the barriers to entry and making it easy for anybody to get a license, you're actually doing more for social equity and allowing people to get into the market than, say, LA's social equity program or Oakland's social equity program. So I'm a fan of this. I think in general, of course, margins are going to get crushed, but that's just a natural progression of a market that goes from the trap to legalization and has healthy competition. Like that is just a natural progression. So I'm very interested in seeing what happens in Minnesota. I'm actually very interested in hearing if any of our applications got approved as well. So we'll see.
Well, good luck on those, Sohum. I don't think anybody's arguing for a limited licensing structure, obviously. I just know that in 3 years, I'm going to be sitting on this show probably reading an article about how Minnesota operators are whining about how they can't pay their taxes and they're not making any money and they're going out of business because they can't survive. I'm not saying, it's right or wrong. And I'm actually for the fact that if you can't survive in an industry, I'm sorry, it's probably time to call somebody like myself and let's get you out of that business that you're sinking. But, it just,
or clean up your books.
This is not, I'm not saying one way or the other. I don't agree with limited license. Also, once again, fuck you, Kim Rivers. But I think I'm just throwing this out there.
Well,
when I read that story and say Minnesota operator struggling to I'm like, oh God, shit, was I a wizard again?
We do want to thank Jeff Jeff Petey for the super chat. He says May Quell Omden. I'm sorry, I'm probably murdering this name. Yeah, Omden just sued Metric.
Definitely be coming with that story. I'll figure out what's going on right.
Oh, please do, Jenny Beth. Can't wait to find out about this. Love a good Metric suing story. What's that, Sean? What's that, Sean?
Tack on. Well, the one last tack on for the argument against limited license, and to Jenny Beth, like to further Jenny Beth's point, is that the limited licensing, like we saw how that happened in some medical spaces, and it totally stifles innovation. It's like, that's why I can't stand it. It's not just the access and equity aspects that Sohum mentioned, but the companies that get the licenses get lazy, they get bloated, they overspend, they're overly arrogant, they don't innovate, and then they wonder why they go belly up. Nobody cares about them.
Well, here's the whole thing. Here's the whole thing, though, about limited licenses, is that you can't have this open range, give everybody a license thing, and still be able to say that you're going to promote social equity or whatnot like that. Because the minute you do that, you have devalued every single license across the board. There is no real valuation on any of these licenses at that point, and therefore the whole promise to social equity applicants as far as we're giving you a bridge to economic freedom is basically just washed under the river in a massive flood.
We got to make it accessible. Like equity is only necessary when economies don't create opportunity for levels of income at all levels, for people to work at all levels of income and to build something and the American dream and all that shit. Like, so we have to, accessibility is key.
And Minnesota did a good job of it, right? Like their license process was not that they had their social equity process, right? Was just that those were the first applicants into the market. So the advantage that the social equity applicants is that they have first mover advantage. And then after that, the market is going to open up. And I think that's as good of a licensing model as we've seen just about anywhere.
And I mean, I think what we need to learn from the equity aspect is like in America, times are going to change, arguments are going to change. The way that we position arguments need to shift as well. And I'm not against, I'm a minority person. Like I just live in Texas and I know they're never going to give me equity. So I got to make it myself. In that vein, if we want that to be something for everybody, then we need to make sure that everybody actually can participate and not go after equity as an advantage strategy, because that's why New York fell apart the way it did. They sued because they did improperly discriminate, sort of, technically in advancing other people over others, and New York, you're such the gift that keeps on giving.
And the fact that cannabis is not, you're not opening a paint store, and Dale has a paint store, and I have a paint store, and I'm a black woman, so my paint store might not do as well, and I might not have as easy a way in as Dale. This is an industry where we've looked at years and years and years of prohibition and of putting people in cages, destroying families, ripping apart Black and brown communities, and disenfranchising large amounts of people. So this is restorative justice-based equity, as opposed to, hey, I'm a Black woman, give me a piece. It's making sure that they have an opportunity, and I think they should get first mover advantage, because without them moving and making those movements, we wouldn't be sitting here fighting over who gets these licenses.
Well, couldn't you also say that by giving them first mover advantages, you're making them the first ones to fail, because the system is doomed to fail in the first place?
Not necessarily, Jason. I mean, like, you have, if I open my store and I'm the only paint store on the island, right? Then people are going to have to buy their paint at my store.
That's a great name, by the way. Only paint. Only paint.
Yeah, I mean, and
I like that name.
Look at these really highly functional cannabis markets, like say like Oregon or Colorado.
Oregon is not highly functional, bro. Their market is diminished.
Let me finish. I'm talking about when the licenses first came out. Colorado is maybe a better example. The people that got into Colorado's adult use market within those first few years did make money because the margins were high, pack prices were still high. It was still worth it to be in there. And that's where I think that is what's going to happen in Minnesota. There's 2 to 4 years of the first licenses being issued where people, I mean, obviously there's nothing guaranteed. You still have to know how to run a business and produce decent product and all that. But those first 2 to 4 years is the opportunity for people to actually make real money before prices crash and margins crash. So, I mean, I see what you're saying about the first opportunity to fail, Jason, but I think in the specific case with Minnesota, I don't think that that's the case.
I don't know. Time will tell.
Something for local, though, like, isn't there another way to structure this? Because I think the way that we structure it invites lawsuit and then no progress.
Everyone in cannabis loves lawsuits. That's just part of the business. Dale can tell you all about that. But on that, we don't serve anybody. Yeah, we're
those people who are on the hook are still withering on the hook in the middle of those injunctions. Only the rich.
They're like unpicked grapes. Just withering away.
Sorry,
They're
Jason,
turning into raisins. They're turning into raisins, and we got to keep this whole train rolling. We're going to roll right in to the founder of Kind Cannabis, Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis that can help your business stay on track, whether that be metric or BioTrack, whatever track, metric, and track and trace system they are currently using, and probably whichever one ends up lasting to be the conqueror of all. And she's also the founder of Justice Served, a 501c3, which can help justice-impaired individuals get their life back on track. Here to tell you all about track stuff, it is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Yeah, remind me after the show, Jason. I'll get you that list of services. We also do licensing, audit support, all that other stuff too. So M&As, exits, equipment sourcing, all the shit.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing?
Whatever gets you in, through, or out of business.
Can I say one thing before we move on real quick? I apologize. But Brian Dombrowski threw up in the chat, and congratulations to the tested team. He says, hemp is the real social equity program. Go ahead, Jenny.
That's an interesting perspective. Also, the guy who threw the super chat about suing Metric said for legal reasons that was a joke.
Yeah, let him say that. Sure.
Let you tell it.
Go for it. Go for it, Jenny.
Jason, we're going to your favorite state. And Dale, I'm so glad you're here because this shit is so contradictory. They're arguing for so many different reasons and so many. It's just cute. A retail cannabis store in Brooklyn is taking on New York's cannabis regulators in federal court, challenging a key provision in the state's marijuana law. Hybrid NYC, which operates under the name Gotham, has filed a lawsuit against the state's Cannabis Control Board and Office of Cannabis Management. At issue, the constitutionality of a requirement that all cannabis license holders sign labor peace agreements with unions. Under the 2021 law that legalized marijuana in New York, these agreements were intended to prevent picketing, work stoppages, or other labor disruptions, and to protect what the state describes as its proprietary interest in the cannabis industry. But Hybrid argues that that's unlawful, saying New York can't claim a proprietary interest in an industry still illegal under federal law. Now, that's contradiction number one, because they filed a lawsuit in federal court, and I covered a story a few weeks ago. If you pay attention, there is a provision that says that a court does not have to intervene and does not technically have the right to intervene when you're doing something that's federally illegal. So they sued in federal court stating that it's not federally legal while they're arguing about their federally illegal business. Okay. 2, the lawsuit also challenges rules that require cannabis businesses to provide employee contact information to unions and bar companies from trying to dissuade union membership. Hybrid claims this violates the National Labor Relations Act, which grants the federal government exclusive power over private sector labor relations. So now are we saying that it's the state or that it's the city? Or I'm sorry, is it saying that state or federal? So you're now arguing that the federal government can't control this, but now you're arguing that the state government can't control this because the federal government is controlling it, but nobody can control it because it's federally illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll continue on. The suit also says the rules effectively funnel cannabis businesses into agreements with one dominant union, Local 338, limiting fair negotiation. The spokesperson for Local 338 said workers at Gotham initiated contact with the union and requested representation. Wonder why. Adding that some cannabis employees elsewhere have declined unionization and their choice has been respected. Gotham founder Joanne Wilson says the lawsuit is about protecting both her business and workers' rights. She touts her company's benefits like $25 an hour base pay, full health coverage, generous vacation time, and retirement matching, and says her team should be able to make informed decisions about unionizing without state-mandated restrictions. It sounds like they have, if your employees have reached out. This sounds like your attempt to dissuade your employees from unionization. The dispute now heads to the National Labor Relations Board. Meanwhile, the Office of Cannabis Management says it won't comment on pending litigation. So there's so many volleys back and forth. There's so much contradictory language, and there's so many contradicting arguments here. And I think that this is really hilarious, Joanne Wilson, because you want to protect your employees' rights. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time in New York, but I'm going to bet you probably don't have a super high quality of lifestyle at $25 an hour in Brooklyn. I'm also going to bet that if your employees didn't want to unionize, they would not have reached out to the union. So I'm going to throw this back to you guys. I'll have some more comments on it. But Dale, I definitely want to hear your opinions first because holy contradiction, Batman.
Dale.
Cannabis is federally illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates a real problem in federal court. And I advise my clients, stay the fuck out of there because you just never know what you're going to get. And I don't know what they're going to get here. Now, the National Labor Relations Act, I don't think gives the federal government the authority to mandate that any company has to have a union. And those are voluntary things. You can vote. They have to respect your vote. That's what the National Labor Relations Board's all about. If you start out, this is illegal under federal law. And under federal law, I don't think you can mandate this. Now we drop down to the states. Okay, I don't know that the states have the power to mandate it either because this is a federal law about labor relations. And there's no good answer here, Jenny Beth, because we have to get a decision. It has to go to appellate court, try to get some guidance here at the federal level. So far, they just thrown their hands up. We don't want to be involved in this. It's federally illegal. But there's things like the Dormant Commerce Clause that could drop into an argument here about putting up unfair barriers to interstate commerce because you're mandating that people have unions. Now, I don't have a problem with unions if the voters voted in. I mean, if the workers voted in. I have a problem when you mandate it from a federal standpoint or even a state standpoint because, you know, my grandpa was a Teamster, okay, but my other grandpa owned liquor stores and they had employees and they were never unionized. So I've had both sides of this argument growing up. Small businesses die when you force them to have union contracts, okay? As you get bigger and you can afford it, okay, it becomes easier.
Yep.
And I don't know that answers Jenny Beth's question, but this is just a whirlwind of shit that nobody has an answer. If someone tells you know the answer here, Jenny Beth, they're full of shit. Because I don't know what this is going to be. The courts have not helped us so far. We've got contradictory opinions here. And I just don't know. It's part of the problems we have until the federal government figures out how to make this a legal commodity that can be put into interstate commerce.
I mean, but don't you think? Oh, go ahead, Sohum.
I was just gonna agree with Dale on the argument that we should not have mandated union contracts. Right? You should not be able to force a company to have unions. I mean,
I agree with that.
I think it's a good thing in terms of collective bargaining and workers' rights and compensation and all that. But ultimately, in my opinion, what should happen is if your employees are thinking about unionizing, that should put pressure on you to provide them the benefits that they want to avoid the union vote altogether, right? Like that's the ideal outcome.
That is,
in my opinion.
I agree with you on that, Sohum. But here's the thing: is that oftentimes you get these unions that come and paint these pastures of greener pastures for these employees. Like, oh, we're gonna do so much for you guys, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and you're gonna be able to do this, and you're gonna be able to say that, and da 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 da, and so on and so on. But the reality of it is that all the unions, when it comes to cannabis companies, they so overpromise and underdeliver and totally misrepresent themselves every step of the way.
That goes both ways. The large employers do the same thing when they lie when they're facing a
here's the difference. Here's the difference, Sohum. Here's the difference, Sohum.
Now let me finish. They paint pictures of greener pastures and benefits and such to try and avoid that, and oftentimes they don't deliver on that.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Let's be real.
No, but here's the difference. I'm gonna give you the biggest bag of turd ever right now. So basically, this is how it breaks down: is that employers actually put money in your pocket, and unions take money out of your paycheck. That's the difference.
Yes, but if the union is taking 10% out of your paycheck, but they got you a 25% increase in wage, that's a net benefit. So that's not really a good argument.
It is a good argument because it's not reality.
Well, we also had the problem here in California where phony unions were signing these labor peace agreements. So that's the flip side of what employers are doing.
Yep.
Is and both sides of a, it's just a mess. I think that the goal here should be to present to your employees, look, if you want a union because your employer won't step up and do the things that the union's going to do for you, vote for the union. But if the union says we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and the employer says, hey, I'll match it, you don't need to get a union involved here.
Then why should you take money out of your paycheck?
Yeah. I mean, there's the argument right there. And it should be the vote of the employees, and the federal law is supposed to protect that.
So employers can't prohibit it, but they're not mandated. Like, that sounds as simple, the most basic, watered down. You can't prohibit it as an employer, but you're not mandated. And it sounds like the lawsuit might be structured. I know it sounds crazy, and despite whoever this person is and her character, which I don't know anything about, it sounds like because they know it'll get tangled up because it can't be ruled on, that it'll be tangled up, and that prevents it from happening.
Hey.
And that was the intention of the National Labor Relations Act and the NLRB, right? Was to protect it for employees that want to opt into it, but not force employers to have unionized labor.
Well, before the NLRB, they used to show up and shoot each other. Okay. I mean, really, they would show up, the Pinkertons would show up with guns, and the workers show up with guns, and they'd just start killing each other. And the Teamsters burned a few buildings down. So it was not a safe way to do it. So
the good old days.
I mean, you can't prevent the unions from coming in and try to organize. Okay, you don't have to mandate it. And the Labor Relations Board takes appeals from that, and they give you an avenue besides a Winchester to shoot each other.
100%. They burnt quite a few things down, and I think, I'm not a big fan of unions. I've been a part of one.
I'm not either.
Did not. Good. Okay. We'll talk about it.
What a surprise, Jason. Thank you.
Let's talk about it later, Jason. But I do think that it's an option. I'd be interested to see, just for the sake, and I think this should be heard in the arguments during this case, what the employees are asking or what their complaints were, their reasons for reaching out to the labor board. I agree with Sohum. I think that, if it was me, I would sit everybody down in a big team meeting, maybe order a bunch of pizzas or something, and hear out people's ideas. Because sometimes all it takes is for your team to feel like they're heard. Whether you take their ideas and you run with them or not, they at least know that you took the time. Like, if you take all these Ivy League schools that were in all of these really, really large protests and blocking graduations and things like that, there were a couple very notable schools that did not have those issues. I believe Brown was one. And do you know why? Because they sat down with their students. They heard out what they wanted to see happen. They took none of those ideas. They ran with none of them, but they sat down and they made all those students feel heard out. And so they were able to circumvent this big, colossal mess on campus that made parents who were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to send their children to these prestigious universities cringe and consider pulling their tuition away. And they just simply had these conversations that needed to be had. Now, in the instance of True Leave in places like that, like I see, like well, there's OSHA. There's a lot of different ways to
Mhm.
take care of this without forcing all businesses to unionize. But I do think that it should be an option if you so choose. I would encourage you maybe not to choose it because it sucks. But I would also, implore employers. There you go. That take care of your most valuable business asset, and that is your human capital.
You can also go to mediation. It sounds like a great case for mediation, and we have to consider that is going to be a future for more operators because they realize not everything has to go to litigation or die,
Fair enough. Man, oh man. This was a great story, Jenny Beth. This was very entertaining. I got a good kick out of this. This is, you know what I mean? Yeah.
You have a weird sense of humor, Jason.
Surprise of the day, Jason is anti-union.
Like if unions actually did what they say they're going to do and really represented in the way that they're supposed to represent and do what they're due, I would have a much better feeling about them. But I've noticed them just being basically culture vultures and just fleecing the industry every which way. And the fact that California mandates that once you have X number of employees, you have to go into a union. I think it's totally ridiculous. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back. Yes, Jenny Beth, and we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it, as well as make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And if you are a licensed entity in the state of New York, I can help you out with a whole bunch of bulk distillate, THCA, concentrates, all the stuff that you may need to help your brands fully succeed in the regulated market in New York. So reach out to me. My contact information is in the bio of this video, you guys.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh, yes, and we are back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. We are going to roll right back into the show. Coming up next, it is none other than Miss Shaun Salvaje. She's a mom, she's a veteran, and she specializes in court dilemmas with mediation. And so if you happen to be in the great state of Texas and don't want to jump into a lawsuit right away, make sure you reach out to Shaun Salvaje.
Wait, what city is she in?
Austin, Texas.
ATX.
No, ATX is not a city. It's an abbreviation for retards.
Wow.
Oh.
And you don't have to be a Texas operator to work with me. You can go across state lines with that one. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Jason, for the introduction that rhymes. My article today comes from Politico. Hopefully I'm coming in clear. I'm on mom duties right now. Actually, we are doing our state testing. So kids are doing their tests. And we're out here with an article from Politico. Mona Zhang, I'm excited about this because we're in Politico.
Did she freeze?
Yeah.
She froze, huh? You froze,
Frozen.
Sean. You froze, Sean. Son of a biscuit. Oh, there we go. Are you back?
it
There we
cut
go.
out.
All right,
Okay,
all right, there we
still
go.
see you.
Yep, start on over.
Here we go. There we go. Good Lord. They don't want you to know it. Will Texas kill a multi-billion-dollar industry? Excited to hear this one. It's coming from national media, Politico. The secret's out. Texas is a big economy, and everybody's wanting to talk about it. Why did I like this article, or why was this a better pull as opposed to others? Because we get a little more inside perspective from actual cannabis industry operators out here, and some of the folks who've been working in the legislative side for quite some time. And I don't usually see that. So this week we heard they testified Monday on HB 46, which is medical expansion. One of the headlines that didn't make it into this political article because it was released ahead of time, but on Monday, Representative Ken King, he sits on the State Affairs Committee. He wrote HB 28, and he went and he testified for medical cannabis, which is really quite unique because he is Charles Perry's counterpart in the House on the State Affairs Committee, and he's a West Texas Republican coming out of the Lubbock area, and he testified in support of medical cannabis. So it was interesting to see a representative actually on the same side of the tables as the constituents, and he spoke to what he would have done. He admits to he probably would have, if he had to watch his mother in her dying moments, and he had an option, sorry about the noise, and he had an option instead of giving her the stacks of pharmaceuticals that were recommended to go to Colorado, drive somewhere and give her a joint, that he would have done it. And that's pretty big coming from a Texas Republican, saying that he would have driven out to buy her a joint if he had the option. And he can't fault anybody who does. So Representative King is the one who wrote HB 28, which has the hemp beverage alcohol, the alcohol carve out is what everybody's calling it, because it would regulate hemp beverages containing Delta-9 THC. So I hope that they know that's not hemp, that's Delta-9, that's marijuana containing that under TABC. But most of the cannabis industry is against this because TABC is the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. They're very, 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 very strict, and they love to arrest folks. So the testimony from the insiders included in the political article, I can't say political article, say it 5 times.
Politico.
Really fast. In a testament to the importance of the market, representatives of hemp companies from across the country traveled to Austin. Thank you. We had some friends from California. We had an economist from Cali come out. Thanks. And Cynthia Cabrera, the chief strategy officer at the Texas hemp company Hometown Hero, says that while King is testifying in support of medical, that his bill is still effectively a de facto ban. It, quote, hands over a narrow sliver of the hemp-derived market to the established and politically well-connected alcohol industry. It takes hemp away from all the people who have built the industry. So when we're going back to those early roots of cannabis, and what Dabrowski said about hemp is the ultimate form of social equity, that's kind of what we found out here in Texas. At low licensing fee rates, basically anyone can enter the market. And you can pull together, like we even had a conversation during South by Southwest about vending machine opportunities, smart kiosks that can run AI and check IDs and can't break into them, or, you'll have to protect it, get into the details. But it was giving mothers an opportunity, like disenfranchised single moms, to collect their money together and purchase these vending machines, an accessible way to actually enter the industry. And we have those opportunities here in Texas. So Cynthia's comment is to the fact that it will strip all of that. It's really interesting out here to see legislators on both sides of the aisle do kind of want to see this get done. And really the arguments are focused on what's the best way to do this so that the state wins. And sometimes I think that comes at the cost of small businesses. So Susan Hayes, who's a cannabis attorney and was neutral on Representative King's bill, HB 28, told a story of a 13-year-old girl with severe Tourette syndrome who couldn't leave her home for 2 years. Why did she tell this story? Because they were very concerned about dosing. They asked us about it. What does it look like to take a certain dose? I told them myself I was dosed on 30 mgs of Delta 9 and 30 mgs THCV because I had eaten 3 gummies. High dose for some, really nothing at all for me. And for this little girl, this 13-year-old girl, she took 25 milligrams a day to treat her condition, but the dose doesn't make her high. So one thing that they're really considering is, as far as medical, looking at milligram recommendations, no more percentage recommendations. You know, the dry weight percentage thing that folks are using right now, that might shift. And the other thing that has been really discussed is creating regulations. So boiling it all down, what do I think is actually going to happen? Now we've got a lot of the bills on the table, mostly from the Republican side of the aisle, which are the bills that are going to be heard. The Democrats won't be heard. And what I think is likely to happen is that we'll see a very limited medical expansion in Texas. I think HB 46 will probably pass. I don't think SB 3 will pass. I'm not sure HB 28 will pass. And the industry would be happy because then TABC won't regulate it. But at the same time, that means the beverage carve out, that finally getting THC in Texas, that's also not happening. So it seems that if neither of those two things happen, then the hemp industry can continue on, can continue to develop, strengthen, build its arguments in case for being the foundation of the structure to build the cannabis industry. When we meet up for legislative session in 2 years, as far as special sessions go, I don't think it's going to happen. Governor Abbott recently came out himself on camera and said it's not really his highest priority. And it would be, I think, on Governor Abbott to call that session forward. So I think overall, now that we're getting to the final days of the legislative session, thank you for sticking with me here because it's a lot to talk about. Mm-hmm. We're going to see medical expansion in Texas, very limited licensing, likely, and probably nothing happening on the hemp side. But that doesn't mean you don't show up, keep showing up all the way through the end of June. And if we go to special session, show up there too. Nothing happening is a good thing.
Oh boy. Well, Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says King sponsored the TCUP bill, HB 46. That's why he testified, and that's why he was focused on vapes during the hemp committee meetings. And HB 46 gives TCUP vapes, he says.
Yeah, so no smokable flower though, and I think they could save that for the adult use market. I think it's going to be really hard to convince any legislator that a combustible is good for your health, and I think that's okay.
I don't see how they can. I don't see how they can legally ban THCA flower. In all reality, because the only thing that is under the Controlled Substance Act is THC Delta 9, and so therefore it would have to fall under that in order for them to have that type of a ban.
I think what we're going to end up, we're going to have to wait for federal. Yeah.
The state has the authority to ban THCA or anything that they want, even if it's they can have a stricter law than what the federal government has. It's just, will they do it?
How are you going to enforce that, Sohum?
That I think that's what they're realizing is that they can ban it and they'll basically kill the Texas industry, which now, thank you, Politico, everybody knows what it is now. Haha, cat's out of the bag. THCA is Texas cannabis. Texas cannabis is hemp. This is how we did it over here.
Just so you know, all cannabis is all THCA. I think Dale, I would hire Dale to argue that for me in court in regards to as long as it hasn't been smoked, it's all THCA, and I'll pull any COA to prove that in before a judge and a jury, no problem.
Jason,
and
answer your
Texas
question.
Cannabis is California cannabis with a fake COA.
Yeah.
Some California cannabis reaches all states. Texas cannabis is not California. Texas cannabis. There's product from Oregon, Washington, Colorado. There's product from everywhere. We have an interstate market because it's hemp. But I just gotta continue to say bullshit because I know the farmers who grow our flower and bullshit. They do a great job, and I stand by it. And by the way, California. Because of everything y'all been going through, I gotta say, even your stuff coming off the trap side, it's pretty mid lately. Like, you got some good shit. But you're smoking your own stuff.
Well, we don't. That's because we don't send you the good shit.
Yeah, we don't send you guys the good shit. We send you the shit that we wouldn't touch in a million years.
it in the house.
There's
and eat
no
them
one with a
myself. I'll give the
monopoly
others
on
in
who
batches to the
can
neighbors. You know what I mean?
good.
Yeah, this is what happens.
Y'all
with all
don't
of
have
our
it anymore. Some of you guys are good, and some of y'all are shit.
Stop the cap, Sean. You're
That's every single
saying.
market.
That's
Colorado,
everywhere.
Oregon, Washington.
That's everywhere. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
I
Right,
love the
no,
fact
but
that-
your
that
point that the quality has gone down recently is not. It's just.
I think over the last 5 years, it
hold on,
actually
Sean.
has gone down
Hold on, Sean. Let Sohum finish saying his
I
thought.
mean, there's 2 points to it. One, every single market has fire, and every single market has mids. Let's clear that up right away. And every single market consumes their best product domestically. They don't ship that out. So what we're getting in Texas is not the cream of the crop. It's never going to be. That's the reality of it.
So why are we saying that that all the good stuff out here is the stuff that we give a shit about from California? I'm gonna stand by our farmers here, and I'm gonna stand by them.
Stand by me.
Cauliflower for 5 years, and there has been a noticeable difference. And I'm not the only person who will tell you that. Operators and farmers will tell you that.
The
all day.
only difference is the stuff that people are sending you. Sean, you can't unless you come out here, Sean, unless you come out here to California, you cannot make that type of comparison because you're only getting whatever you're getting wherever you're at. Okay, there's a big difference between being here and being able to see everything as opposed to being there and seeing whatever people send to you. Big difference, night and day.
Also acknowledge that California is not sending you guys tips.
One at a time.
We telling you a tip so you get across state lines to put it in your smoke shop.
You guys act like I don't go to the conferences and I haven't smoked your weed.
You go to a conference. That's not the same thing as being here, Sean. You can't compare that.
I don't know where their asshole is when I shoot a hole in the ground.
Over the last 5 years, your quality has
my problem with pay to play.
Over the last 5 years, quality has
one at a time.
It's coming from your own operators. It's coming from your own people. I got no stake in the game.
You haven't stopped. Like that doesn't.
I got no stake in it, guys. I got no stake in it. You guys are the ones insulting literally everybody else. I got no stake in it. I'm telling you what your own operators have said.
This is a
all right.
Your own
this. Yeah, we're moving on.
This is not an insult to anyone. This is not.
We're going to our next commercial. We're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Please stop. Yep.
The farmers keep the fire themselves.
Yep, that is so right.
I know they got the real fire.
And we are back, you guys, and we're going to roll right into Mr. Sohum Shah. Sohum has spent more than a decade in cannabis with a focus on technology and compliance. He is currently developing an athlete-focused band called The Grind. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Sohum Shah out here grinding from Austin, Texas.
We were doing your sad story first, Jason.
Oh shit! You know what? I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm sorry.
Again,
I'm rolling in. Yeah, my bad. I'm going into my second story because it's kind of a sadder story. I apologize. That is totally my mistake.
Sorry,
yes.
Yeah.
This is a sad story, and shout out to all the good moms and good babysitters out there, because this is definitely not one of them, because a Georgia woman puts a dog leash around a toddler's neck and gives him a marijuana joint, the deputies say. That's right. A 24-year-old remains under investigation for child cruelty after authorities said she mistreated a child under her care. Last year, the Hesperam County Sheriff's Office began investigating a 24-year-old Brooke Morgan Best Pitch of Alto on December 18th of 2024. Herbersham investigators determined abusive activities took place at the home in Hall County and reached out to the Hall County Sheriff's Office. Hall County investigators said they found evidence that that Best Pitch gave a toddler a marijuana joint and allowed the boy to smoke from it. As a result, Best Pitch was arrested on February 6th of 2025. She was charged with reckless conduct and posted a $1,300 bond. That's way too little for that. Best Pitch was released from jail the following day, and during an ongoing investigation, Hall County deputies got search warrants for her cell phone and Snapchat account, and investigators said they found video and photo evidence of the victim hogtied with belts and yarn. Authorities said they also found a video of the child with a dog leash around his neck and being pulled by Best Pitch, constructing the child's neck. The sheriff's office said it issued an arrest warrant for the first-degree child cruelty, and Best Pitch was arrested again, this time at her home in Alto on Friday. She posted $11,200 bond and was released from the Hall County Jail on Saturday, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. This is a screwed up story. I feel so bad for this kid, and I just have so many negative things to say. I'm gonna wait and see what you guys have to say.
Yeah, what possesses a person to do that? That's
Exactly.
absolutely insane.
Exactly, absolutely insane. So I'm with you.
I at first I was like, where's this going? What does this have to do with cannabis? It's unfortunate that that in any way this is gonna be somehow associated with marijuana, because this is just abusive parenting, plain and simple.
Throw her under the jail and don't ever let her out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I mean? Like this. Oh man,
and
this
give
is
that baby to somebody who can take care of it.
Yeah, and this is the type of person that should never be a parent in the first place, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is.
I raised 5 of them, and none of them had to go into that kind of a leash or anything like that.
I mean, look, I was on a leash as a kid. There's nothing wrong with putting a kid on a leash. I needed to be on a leash. My mom would put me down and I'd be gone. She'd be turning around to get my little brother out of his car seat, and your boy was
putting y'all's kids on them little blue leashes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So
man.
I was on a leash. I don't think there's anything wrong with a leash. I needed to be on a leash, but
doesn't it matter where
there's a clear distinction between
doesn't it matter where the leash, how the leash is attached?
Yeah, the leash is attached on a wrist, first of all, for a child, not around their neck.
Okay.
Oh, they put them on little backpacks now with like monkeys and stuff.
I remember.
I mean, granted, this was 35 years ago.
Your mom just tied you to something. She was like, no more. So.
I do remember.
It was actually a leash.
I do remember when I was a kid, I was at the pool one day, and there was a mom. She had like 8 kids or whatnot, and her youngest one, she was letting like crawl around the pool and whatnot, and she had a leash that was tied around the baby's ankle, so that the baby couldn't crawl too far away, like a little radius. You know what I mean? That was the first time I ever saw a kid on a leash. I was like,
"Oh." With 8 kids, you need to put a leash on her husband, not kid.
I mean, how do you know she was married?
God. Well, so I'm not even opening that baby daddy can of worms, okay?
Exactly. See, look at you.
I was told there'd be no math.
Oh man, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But I do want to send a big shout out. I see Anna Lewis hopped in the chat, and I want to send a big shout out to everyone up there for the social equity rally up there in Los Angeles today, Los Angeles City Hall. I hope everyone's having a good one and a good time, and hope everyone was able to have their voices heard today in regards with trying to get that bill passed. Any other final things about these child leashes?
I mean, not the leashes, but the parenting. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And honestly, how did she get out on $1,300 bond?
That was my thought too. I was like,
yeah. Custody. I have so many questions that need so many answers. What county was this? Also, I'm sad this is my home state. Like, honestly, bring back the firing range.
It's not the county, though. It's like, I think we can all agree this is deplorable and disgusting. But what makes me, like, when I read that article, what gets me, that kid is probably going to end up going back. She's probably still going to maintain some custody. the laws for child protective services are designed to like criminalize some, and then when it actually comes to protecting, they fail. Almost every state, almost every county. So and then of course, like the obvious, the bail set what it was. But if you were caught just smoking your joint and being a responsible parent, who knows what could have happened? Like, it was disgusting.
It was Hall County, Jenny Beth.
The county definitely comes
Jenny
into
Beth.
play, and the reason why I'm asking that is because this
Hall.
is my home state, and
It's
so the
Hall County.
DA is the one who decides what bond is going to be set, and if there is a bond set, and how they prosecute this case. So that's why I want to know what county it is, because Georgia is good old boy system home state.
All right, can you listen? It's Hall County, Jenny Beth. Hall, Hall.
Hall County?
Yes.
Oh my God. Hilarious. So her family knows somebody in that government. Hall is a very small county. And I went to college with a bunch of people from Hall County. It's definitely good old boy central. It's not like she got busted in the greater Atlanta metropolitan area where somebody might do something. So this is freaking ridiculous. They need to go ahead and put her back up in there, but I'm going to reach out.
It sounds
some nosing around.
It sounds to me like someone needs to place a hall monitor on this woman.
They need to put her in a hall and bring out the firing range.
I'm all for that. I totally support that.
We used to call it Tobaz. Take them out back and shoot them.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? Line them up on the range, you guys. Line them up on the range. That's right.
I mean, if she does get convicted and ends up in prison, my understanding is that child abusers are not treated terribly well in prison.
She's not going to get any major time if this is the first time. It turns into family law.
Yeah, it does. You are right about that, Shaun. I have seen that happen many a times.
It's sad. The law is not designed to actually protect us, guys. It's just designed to make it hard for you.
Well, we're going to keep this train rolling into our final story of the day. We're going to roll right into Mr. Sohum Shah out there in the great red state of Texas, out there in the great city of Austin. Sohum has spent more than a decade in the cannabis space with a focus on technology and compliance, and he is currently developing an athlete-focused brand called Grind. Here to show you how he can get on his grind and deliver some news, it is none other than Mr. Sohum Shah.
Thank you. And yes, I am in the blue city of ATX in the purple state of Texas.
It's red, bro.
Colorblind. We're breaking off a little bit of information about driving under or while high on marijuana. This is from the Progress Index from Bill Atkinson over there. Some people like to drive while high on marijuana. 2 AAA surveys revealed why they do it. 8 out of every 10 respondents to a recent AAA survey said that they have driven while high on marijuana, and another 5 out of every 10 said they do not think getting behind the wheel while buzzed is detrimental to their judgment. Those results were released Tuesday by the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety in an effort to show that many drivers have misconceptions about blazing up or consuming cannabis-infused edibles. The foundations released the findings a few days before, quote, Weed Day on 420, also known as 420 Day. Curious where they got that information from, but that is commemorated by pot consumers nationwide. With that in mind, the foundation said in a statement that the study underscores the need to prevent high driving. Quote, understanding what motivates cannabis consumers to drive under the influence can be helpful in developing effective safety strategies. Dr. David Yang, president and executive director of the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, said in a statement. Quote, with insights on perception, decision-making, and behavior, we aim to inform policies and interventions that make our roads safer for everyone, end quote. 38 states have legalized some form of allowable cannabis consumption. Virginia is among 24 that allow recreational use, while the other 14 permit pot for medicinal purposes. The AAA Foundation conducted 2 studies on the topic of buzz driving. Excuse me. In both studies, the foundation surveyed a total of 2,800 respondents who admit to routine cannabis use. The first study of 2,000 respondents sought perceptions and rationale for driving under the influence of marijuana. The remaining 800 were asked about what messages should be publicized to deter buzz driving. In the first study, 44.1% of those surveyed said they consume cannabis multiple times a day. 57.8% indicated that they drive daily. 84.8% admitted that they drive the same day that they consume cannabis, and 53% said they got high an hour or less before driving. 46.9% believe the use does not alter their driving ability, 19.4% said they thought they drove better, and 14.7% said they felt a slight improvement. 39% said they would trust warnings about a buzz driving from either cannabis companies or cannabis industry groups. You can read more about the second study. There's information about more research from the Mayo Clinic as well, and that's on the website. But I think we can kick this back to the team. I think overall, we've said this many times on the show. I think we need to point out that unlike alcohol, there is not an implication of being intoxicated just because you consume cannabis. Being high does not mean that you're impaired. And until we can create a test where you're actually observing and measuring impairment, then we need to put a pin in this conversation and not be issuing DUIs to people or DWAIs for consuming cannabis. But yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. Live from the ATX for
Austin.
High 9 News. Let's kick it back to everyone else.
Well,
Sorry, Jason, what were you saying?
now I was gonna say, DWIs, DUIs. They call it. Hold on, Jenny. They call it a whole bunch of things depending on whatever state you're in. They have a different acronym for it in pretty much every state. And I do want to read a super chat that just came in from Brian Dombrowski, who says the Emerald Triangle will always produce the best. With that said, some growers are tired of the California shenanigans and making the move to Texas and other states. Those folks grow some bomb-ass THCA. And I think that is the perfect final word on all of that. I think that is fantastic. Super chat. Thank you so much for that, Brian. And now let's go into this so-called drugged driving hoax. That they're trying to perpetuate. I think it's total bullshit. Just like I've always stated, I don't believe that, just because you smoke a joint, all of a sudden you're too impaired to drive. And Sohum, the best test that I've seen still to this date, I say it pretty much every time on the show, is like a video game, and you put it over your head, and it measures your reaction time visually to things that are coming towards you, things that are on the road when you notice them, and things like that. And that seems to me like that would be the best roadside test that law enforcement could initiate. They could keep a little Oculus headset in the back of their car, you know what I'm saying, hit play, and then have that give some kind of reading at the end, and you get a score. As long as you hit X number of score, you're safe to drive, and that's boom, end of the day, easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Boy, if you
I agree with you.
Highway patrolmen are watching porn on the side of the road now, give them an Oculus.
I was gonna say, what do you think is gonna happen? All these cops are gonna be sitting in their car eating donuts and playing with their VR headset.
I mean, hey,
So I love how much we think alike.
Oh boy. What's that, Sean? What was that, Sean? You cut out. Did you go on mute? Did your phone cut out?
Well, I want to just state that cannabis is not a central nervous system depressant. So all that people think about being impaired is because you have CNS impairment. You can't physically make all your muscles work. Okay? It doesn't do that. And alcohol reduces your inhibitions. So people will go out and do stupid shit they normally wouldn't do. You don't see that same characteristic with cannabis. So all the nonsense out there about driving impaired should be put more like on the side of a bottle. It says, do not drive until you know the effects of this substance. And to try to get a per se test, I think is just a difficult one, because people don't want to study the effects of cannabis. They just want to find something bad about it. There's something good you can say about it. That funding gets pulled. People don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
But cannabis is just not alcohol. And to try to compare them is just stupid.
I totally agree with you, Dale. It is totally ridiculous. And, but law enforcement, they believe in, the mottos like the bigger the bust, the bigger the boost type of thing. And that's kind of that's their mile marker for how they're able to make arrests and able to justify the dollars that go into the different programs that they receive for these type of allocations. And so, but it's just totally ridiculous. I mean, I got pulled over one time, and these drug recognition experts, right? They're called DREs, drug recognition
the
experts.
DREs,
The DREs.
They're almost always fucking morons too.
Well, hold on. I'm going to tell you why. It's because they're taught more moronic things. Like they teach, and I've had this confirmed from someone that was trained as a DRE that I had the cop tell me that he thought that I smoked weed because my tongue was green. Okay. And that smoking weed turns your tongue green. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard in my life. Now, there's no way that my tongue is turned green. I've never heard of this in my life. I can't believe that I was hearing it from a cop.
You didn't find it.
No. Well, this is the thing is like, you know, a lot of stoners like Jolly Ranchers and like Charms blow pops and stuff like that. So people need to watch out and not be eating on the sour apple flavor, because otherwise they're going to have probable cause to say that you're high.
Damn, dog.
Just saying.
Ain't that about a bitch, Jason?
If a cop ever pulled me over and told me that, I would probably just laugh in his face.
I kind of did.
Which really wouldn't help the case of them of saying that I'm not high, probably.
He told me ultimately at the end, Sohum, he said, I don't believe that you're not high, but I also don't believe that you're too impaired to drive, and he let me drive off.
Well, that's fair.
I said
we need to figure out the impairment thing. I don't know about the Oculus, because then you can just say the Oculus malfunction. I don't know. I don't know about how enforceable that is, but if you're not, why penalizing something? If Sohum gets pulled over, he might feel one way, but if someone else who's already had a run and gets pulled over, they might have feel a very different type of way about interacting with the police. And they might also have a very different result. Like, some of y'all are going to walk away with a ticket or a warning, and some folks might not walk away with their life. So let's not open the opportunity for these interactions if it's not necessary. Keep the police busy actually doing police work.
And on that, you know what I'm saying? If you don't stop, you're not going to get pulled over, Shaun.
Yeah, right.
I mean, eventually, Jason, they got those spike strips, you know?
To Shaun's point, you might be able to walk away after that. I probably would.
I wouldn't be walking away. I'd be driving away, bro. That's a big difference. Walking away means you got your car impounded. Just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people are going to end up in the back of the car or worse.
Shout out to all the hemp operators out there. But all that THCA all day, you guys, because it's all the same thing. It's all cannabis, sativa L, and the Controlled Substances Act. You're not going to get away from that, no matter what you want to call it. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Anthony in the metaverse somewhere. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And we're off.